If you're seeing this right now, you may have been in a gifted and talented program as a child in school, and how the TikTok algorithm knows this about you, I do not know. But if you have a hard time remembering what happened to you in that program, I want to show you something that might jog some memories.
I'm back, Scopophobia, and today, hold on, let me see, make sure my audio is good. We're taking a look at these creepy TikTok videos. If you guys didn't know, TikTok is supposedly supposed to get banned on the 19th of January. That's literally next week Sunday, or this coming Sunday, I should say. So we'll see what's gonna happen with that. We're gonna take a couple look at those in this video. If you guys like the video, let's try to get to 1,000 likes this video. And it says around 70% of you guys are not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe to stick around. You won't want to miss the journey.
We have a big important update from the United States Supreme Court. Wednesday, January 15th, the United States Supreme Court has announced will be an opinion day, meaning the court will release one or more opinions on the cases that have been argued this term, including possibly the TikTok ban case. Now, it's no guarantee that the Supreme Court will release the TikTok opinion on Wednesday, but this is the only opinion day currently set on the calendar before January 19th. And it's typical that the Supreme Court will announce ahead of time before releasing an opinion. But if the Supreme Court chooses to go a different route and issue an administrative stay or grant a temporary injunction, that will not happen necessarily on Wednesday. That could happen as soon as right now. So keep Wednesday in your calendar as a possible day for a TikTok decision. As soon as we get more information, I'll let you know. If TikTok is banned, my primary platforms will be Instagram, YouTube, Substack, and Blue Sky. Please give me a follow at the link in my bio on all those social platforms. And when we get more information, I will let you know, but mark your calendars for possibly an opinion on Wednesday.
I really can't believe they're actually banning TikTok. I mean, it might not happen because they've been saying it for so long, but this one kind of feels real, if that makes sense. At first, I didn't really care that they were banning TikTok. I was like, I don't really care. I make YouTube videos more anyways. And my lifelong goal was always to be a YouTuber. When I was like 13, I always wanted to have like 100,000 subscribers. So if you're seeing this, make sure to subscribe because you might help me get to my goal for real. As a 13-year-old kid, it might allow my inner child to be happy. But I used to make TikTok videos all the time. I had literally over 450,000 on TikTok at one point. And at first I was just like, it doesn't really affect me. But then I realized my whole content is reacting to TikToks. So I'm just kind of like, oh, I feel like this TikTok ban is going to do a lot more damage than the US really thinks it's going to do.
Unusual places in the world. Located in Quebec, Canada, this forest has a pretty creepy atmosphere. It might be because the ground looks like it's moving, making it seem like Mother Earth is taking a deep breath. This next one is actually terrifying. Located in Penang, Malaysia, this huge water tornado was getting extremely close to this apartment building. Fortunately, it stopped right in front of the building because it ran out of water. And how about this one? It used to be a hiking area before it got flooded. So everything you see here used to be above water. Imagine being a fish and seeing this appear out of nowhere.
The strangest places in the world, part 1. Firstly, on top of a hill in Pennsylvania, some stones can be found that shouldn't actually be there, because there's no nearby high terrain where they could have originated. These are called the ringing rocks, because whenever something hits these stones, they make a strange ringing noise. Next is the petrifying well in England, where water flows from a rock and turns whatever it touches into stone. As you can see, people often leave items like hats, teddy bears, or even bicycles, which appear to have already been turned into stone. Some people believe there's a mystical power, but the scientific reason behind this is the unusually high mineral content in the water, which forms a hard mineral shell on any object it comes into contact with. And within a few months, everything essentially becomes a stone statue.
Crazy things happening in the world right now. An elderly Romanian woman was using this amber nugget worth $1 million as a doorstop for decades. John Bon Jovi convinced a woman to not jump off a bridge in Nashville. Someone felt that a Louis Vuitton staff member was being rude to them, so they made them count $110,000 in cash over 2 hours, then left without buying anything. This billionaire was caught stealing sand from a public beach. Chuck E. Cheese is now launching a monthly subscription program. An apartment complex billed this woman $15,000 for breaking her lease a year early because she died. Another survey shows that teens are dramatically losing interest in school and hear about college too much. A Lamborghini and a Harley were seized from an unemployed man with unexplained wealth who was later found to be taking advantage of unemployment benefits. The cucumber trend has been blamed for a massive hit to Iceland's cucumber supply. This woman was in agony when she found out that she was allergic to her own period.
That last one is for sure very interesting, but that kind of reminded me of this video I saw of this person being allergic to their own tears. Like, they were crying and their whole skin started to turn like red and hivey and stuff. Hell no, that's weird. That dude that made that girl count $110,000 just to leave, that was so petty, but you know, I'm all here for it. If she was being disrespectful, that's funny as hell. He would do something like that.
The internet's currently going insane over this viral video. The video shows a balloon randomly going down the street with no wind and no one there. It also happens to be at 3 a.m. I mean, check this out. They always say there's a lot of lost souls in LA. My question to you guys is, could it be a lost soul?
Things humans were never meant to see. This is why you don't run into random caves or spaces. Just because it's open to air doesn't mean you can breathe in there. Floods caused by heavy rain in Veneto, Italy. Here is the necessary bathing method for sheep to eliminate parasites. Scientists found weird new marine species off New Zealand coast.
That first one with that dead air, that's so scary because sometimes you really never know, and that's kind of interesting how there's dead air and there's like a big freaking opening. You would think places with dead air would just be like an entrapped enclosure with not too much oxygen. I don't understand why that one has like a big opening and then there's just dead air inside of that. That's kind of scary.
So, the first pictures since Jaguar's major shock rebranding have leaked, and they weren't kidding when they said a change was coming. Now, the leaked pictures show a bright pink and blue electric vehicle that has an extremely minimalistic design. It has an oval-shaped steering wheel, a wide front Rolls-Royce looking grille, and no rear window, probably using cameras instead. And as promised, the iconic Jaguar emblem and hood ornament has been replaced. It's now just a gold plate near the front left of the wheel, and the word Jaguar just on the front of the grille. So the question is, what do you think of the new concept? Has Jaguar just saved or destroyed the company?
Moments after this video was captured, this mother threw her 2-year-old son in the dumpster. And you know what makes this case even more heartbreaking? 11 days before this happened, a stranger called the police to report this mother for beating her children in the middle of the street. This all happened on June 6th when 23-year-old Deja Smith called police and told them that she was at the park with 3 kids when suddenly her 2-year-old Jacoby Robinson Jr. disappeared. Police first believed that someone took Jacoby, but after hours of searching, they finally found his body inside a dumpster in the same apartment complex that the family lived in. Investigators began looking through the surveillance footage in the apartment, and they noticed Deja walking towards a dumpster on that day, and she has her newborn attached to her on her chest and her 2 other children in the stroller. But in this video, you see one child moving around and the other child who's in the bag isn't moving, and police believe that Jacoby was already deceased at this point. In this point of view, you can't see what's going on, but you can hear the dumpster close, and then Deja walk back with only 2 children. Now, this isn't the first time Deja has been accused of hurting her children. In 2022, she had her kids taken away for neglect, but she eventually regained custody of them 2 months before she took Jacoby's life. And just so you know, she also has 2 older children who were also taken away from her. But what makes this case so much more infuriating is that only 7 weeks after regaining custody of the little ones, a stranger saw her beating them in the middle of the street. And keep in mind, these little boys are only 2 years and under. The woman who happened to see the beating called police, and when police arrived, they found that there was no signs of abuse, so then they just left. Photos of the children were later taken, and it shows scratches and bruises all over their bodies. Deja and Jacoby's father were both charged with murder, and it turns out that Deja is now pregnant with her 6th child in prison.
Hearing stories like that makes me always so grateful to just actually have like loving parents and a loving family, you know what I'm saying? Because you hear stuff like that, you're like, dude, those kids don't even know what's going on for it. Like when you're a child, you have no idea what's going on. And then your parents as well don't even know what's going on in their life. It's just like trauma. Just straight trauma.
Understand, it took generational Hall of Fame levels of destruction, violence, and straight up hating for this lion to get his name. You might know him. This is Ntwadumela, which is Swahili for he who greets with fire. He sure did. He ran a pride with his brother in Savuti, Botswana, and even though he was smaller, he stood on business. It was like a honey badger in a lion's body. Really think about what that means. Researchers watched him press a whole raging bull elephant at a watering hole. There's also that time he stared down literal death. Black Death, that is. That's their nickname. Imagine Mufasa listening to NBA Youngboy. That's the time he was on, but in Ntwadumela's defining personality trait, he hated hyenas with generational prejudice. He who greets with fire would pull up to any hyena's front door with smoke. It was literally on sight. He'd even go out of his way to find a hyena leader and erase the matriarch in front of the whole hood. He actually did it so often, he single-handedly dissolved the hyena clans around him. He'd also pick up spawn kills by crippling hyena cubs. Imagine being walking population control. It's estimated that he dropped nearly 40 hyenas in his life, and I say estimated because that's just what they saw. It's definitely higher. The thing is, lions already have no love for a walking laugh track. It's just that Ntwadumela took it 10 steps further. Like if his pride was around hyenas or they heard them, they'd be annoyed, but they wouldn't waste the energy chasing around something in 100-degree weather that they're not going to eat in the end. I'll let the walking hyena hate crime here snicker, and best believe he'll divide them like one. This lion lived a life fueled by pure spite and hostility, and that quantity of hatred has to be studied. Also, the way he passed tense doesn't fit my narrative, so I'm gonna disregard that. The more you don't know.
Scopophobia is the excessive fear of being stared at, and is sometimes referred to as the phobia or feeling that someone is watching you. I'm now going to show you a series of increasingly unsettling photos, and if these scare you, you might have scopophobia.
I mean, based off of the views I'm used to getting, you know what I'm saying? I guess I'm used to having eyeballs on me, so that means that didn't affect me as much. One of my TikToks got 1 million likes the other day. I made that shit like a week ago. W TikTok. Although you're getting banned, but still W TikTok. The younger me could never be an influencer or a content creator. Because I'd be like, there's too many people like on me. But nowadays, I don't really care. Remember to like the video and subscribe. We're trying to get to 100,000 subs.
Here's some tips that could save your life that you're actually likely to use. If you're ever outside and your hair's standing straight up, you're about to be struck by lightning. So what you have to do is crouch into this position and brace yourself. If your house ever randomly smells like fish, 9 out of 10 times it's an electrical fire. If you're ever in a foreign country and you don't know the emergency number, dial 112. It's the universal number for emergency. If a tornado looks like it's not moving, it's actually moving towards you. If there's ever a gas leak in your house, don't turn on the lights. A spark from the light switch could blow up your entire house. If you're ever in a crashing elevator, lie down flat to evenly distribute your weight. If you happen to fall into a subway track, look for the little crawl space and hide in there. If there's a deer on a road, you have a better chance of surviving if you drive into it. But if it's a moose, drive into a ditch. Even if you have no service, you can still call 911. Share this video with a loved one to keep them safe.
Interesting people you've never heard of. Darius was arrested 32 times for commandeering buses and trains and pretending to be the driver when he wasn't. Dalton Getty is a man who's been making pencil tip artwork for over 25 years. Philippe Kahn is the man who invented the camera phone back in 1997. This underachieving Princeton student in the 1970s wrote a paper on how to build a nuclear bomb. He received an A, but he never got his paper back because it was seized by the FBI. Patrick Acton made a complete model of Hogwarts with only 600,000 matchsticks and 60 liters of glue. A man named Dalton sued Bank of America for $1,784 billion because he was unhappy with their service. Kevin invented a micronation in the state of Nevada that's called Molossia. It consists entirely of his house, front yard, and backyard. This Argentinian engineer in the 1930s created a rain machine, made it rain in multiple places at once, and then disappeared without a trace.
Alright, so if a random dude can make a rain machine, that means the government 100% can manipulate our weather. You know what I'm saying? So that video kind of made me think, if they can manipulate our weather, why not put a bunch of rain clouds over the California fire? Maybe that will put out the wildfires.
The weirdest online jobs. There's a company called Teo Bayo that offers 10-second vertical videos for you to buy. The videos range from people showing off wads of cash to videos of people sitting in sports cars. The point of these videos are to make it seem like you're the one filming it so you could post it online and flex to your friends. One person who makes these clips for people to buy said he makes $3,000 USD per month.
This child molester in Thailand by the name of Mr. Swirl wasn't caught for years because he used a swirl app to conceal his identity by swirling his face. In 2007, they finally managed to unswirl his face and caught him and found him. Mr. Swirl used to go to different countries, become a school teacher, and then assault the children he was teaching. He did this from country to country, and his longest run was in Thailand. He was a Canadian man by the name of Christopher Paul Neal. To this date, he's thought to have over 300 victims. On top of assaulting the kids, he also made CP with them and had him in a huge hard drive. Some say that it was leaked on the internet, some say it wasn't. They found a lot when they raided him. Now, what I'm about to say next is about to make a lot of people mad. He is now free today. He only served about 10 years in prison in Canada. So from 2007 until 2017, he served. Now he's released and free and living in Canada. Also baffles me is the fact they couldn't unswirl his face for years. You could have picked a random graphic designer off the street and gotten them to unswirl the face in like 10 minutes. Let me know your thoughts on this story.
So one night, this girl, her name is Kaylee, decided to stay home while her family went out to dinner and stayed home and watched Netflix. While watching Netflix, she started hearing noises, little scuffles and bangs. She shrugged it off and thought it was just her dog Rocky. While continuing to watch her show, she starts to hear her mother calling her name.
Kaylee, I'm home alone. Help me, Kaylee.
You see, the scary thing is her mom was still out with her dad and her sister. So who the heck was in the kitchen? Because it sounded identically like her. But then the scary part is she hears her dad start to call her name.
Kaylee. Kaylee. Hello? Hello? Kaylee. Mom? What the hell is going on? Hello?
She turns her phone camera on and goes to investigate. Has she seen scary movies? She goes to look for her dog Rocky in the kitchen and quickly snaps this picture. Mind you, her dog normally looks like this. Kylie's heart starts racing. She runs for her life back to her room.
That's gotta be a skinwalker, bro. What the hell?
Crazy things happening in the world right now. A woman from Alabama is suing football coach Lane Kiffin, Donald Trump and his son, along with JD Vance for $1 million gazillion because she's claiming that they stole money from her bank account. The Canadian Army has come out and said that the newest military sleeping bags in design today are not suitable for Canadian winters. This man from Massachusetts bought this house for $395,000 despite warnings that it will fall into the ocean. A new startup wants to sell you sunlight after dark using space mirrors. Schools are putting vape detectors in bathrooms that were paid for by the vape company Juul. This woman was arrested at an Applebee's after arguing with the manager that if she paid $15.99 for all you can eat, that would include her entire table instead of just her. Scientists are saying to never take health advice from the world's oldest people. Workers in Japan are hiring resignation experts to help them quit their jobs. A Florida surgeon is being sued after a patient passed away when he took away his liver instead of his spleen.
How do you mistake a liver for a spleen, dude? You're a certified doctor. You're supposed to know these things. Now, the ones that are always funny to me was the one that was before this one, where they sued the Bank of America $1,700 billion trillion. I was like, dude. And then they want to choose Trump, his mans, and his other mans $1 gazillion. I'm like, dude, they want to sue these people for all their money. I'm like, they don't even got, cause I don't even think the world has a gazillion dollars. I don't even think $1 gazillion is even a thing.
The influencer that was caught stealing $500 worth of stuff from Target and then posting it on TikTok was caught stealing again from the same Target. So the first time she was arrested was in October, and then she went on TikTok and posted a video with a huge caption basically saying that it doesn't define her and that she's going to try to do better. Now, 2 weeks later, she's caught again at the same Target that she stole the first time, but instead of stealing $500 worth of stuff, this time it was only $200. I already spoke about why people are so invested in this story, and it has to do with her using the items that she steals in her videos to gain attention and create content. Now I'm kind of questioning if she's doing this on purpose, because the first time she stole, I went on her TikTok and she had around 320 something thousand followers. Now that I went back on her TikTok, she has 422,000 followers. It's crazy how social media works, because you can do something so stupid like this, but you can still gain attention, a following, and a platform.
Imagine you're me scrolling on your For You page in the middle of the night, and you see this. Now, this is a doll. Let's get that out of the way first. And this woman married this doll. Here you go. There's a picture of them at their wedding. And she has like an entire family of like zombie dolls. But is this not so like unnerving? And also, is that not like a child zombie doll? I understand this is not what my like page normally is about. Like, it's usually like crime and like hauntings and stuff like that. But like, this is freaking me out.
I'm going to sentence you to 20 years in Florida State Prison. That's to be followed by 10 years of probation. Upon your release, and the Florida State Prison was, of course, with all credit for time served, you must initially report to the Bradenton Department of Corrections.
The spirits in this house tried to lead me into a trap. This is one of the most haunted homes in Minnesota, the Warden's house in Stillwater. The spirits in this home are very active, especially if you ring this bell that was once owned by the minister pictured in the portrait above. During an investigation, somebody rang that bell and the portrait fell off of the wall, so of course we had to ring it. The history of this house is pretty interesting. It was lived in by 13 different wardens from a nearby prison, and multiple people have died inside of the home. But the most active part of this building is in the upstairs, specifically in the children's room. The legend of this house involves a woman named Gertrude. Gertrude gave birth to a child, but then shortly afterwards she died. And to this day, people report seeing her wandering the halls, especially upstairs, looking for her lost baby. There's a lot of creepy stuff in this house, like this outfit and actual locks of hair from the boy in the portrait that I just showed you. But the spookiest object is this doll. During our investigation, the tour guide actually had to go to the back room to bring this doll out. She told us that she keeps the doll in the very back of the house because it's so haunted. And in the past, she said the doll has typed out messages on people's phones. There's also this bed that a young man died in from tuberculosis. This is him in the portrait. So let me know, would you spend the night in this haunted house? Our full investigation from this place is on YouTube now.
Another cold case has been solved, as the remains of a couple found in a pond in Georgia have been identified by a family in New York whose grandparents disappeared over 40 years ago. Charles and Catherine Romer were on their way home to New York from Miami Beach, Florida in April 1980. 74-year-old Charles and 76-year-old Catherine stopped at a Holiday Inn in Brunswick, Georgia on their way home. They unpacked their luggage in their hotel room, but then they disappeared. The couple and their car simply vanished into thin air. And for 44 years, they remained missing, with their family having no idea what happened to them. Their disappearance was investigated as foul play, but no answers were ever discovered. That is, until last month. On November 22nd, a nonprofit called Sunshine State Sonar recovered a 1979 Lincoln Continental, which was the car that they were driving, from a pond that was between the Royal Inn Hotel and a highway. When the car was removed from the pond, a human bone was discovered. And now the family has confirmed that the remains belong to their grandparents, Charles and Catherine Romer. In a statement, the family said, "We are deeply saddened and equally relieved that our grandparents Charles and Catherine Romer's 44-year mystery disappearance has been solved." They said, "While this discovery brings closure, it has still been very emotional. Sadly, Charles Romer Jr., Jim Romer, and Frank Heller are not with us to share this momentous turn of events and to know their parents will finally be laid to rest in peace." They thanked Jason Suhadra of Myrtle Beach, who, quote, pinpointed the exact location of the vehicle and shared his findings with all the agencies involved. And they also thanked the Glenn County Police, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and Sunshine State Sonar. Minimal remains were found and their causes of death have not been released, and it's not immediately clear if their deaths are being investigated as foul play, but it does appear that at this point investigators believe their disappearances and deaths were the result of a tragic accident. Rest in peace, Charles and Catherine.
Big sea. Very scary, and it left me feeling very vulnerable. I'm in a kayak, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'd rather be at home.
The man you just saw in that video was Andrew McAuley. Before he disappeared, Andrew was a pretty well-known mountaineer and kayaker. In his life, Andrew fell in love with the sport of kayaking, and he became very well known in the sea kayaking community because he would set off solo on his small kayak and travel great distances across the ocean. But his biggest goal in life and challenge was to cross the Tasman Sea. Andrew made his first attempt to cross the Tasman Sea in December of 2006, but he called it off after one night when he discovered that he was having trouble staying warm while sleeping in the kayak overnight. But on January 11th, 2007, he wanted to try again. But it was during this voyage that he would vanish into thin air. So he set off on January 11th, but on February 9th, Andrew sent out a distress call. In this call, he said, "Do you copy? This is Kayak 1. Do you copy? Over. I've got an emergency situation. I'm in a kayak about 30 kilometers from Milford Sound. I need a rescue. My kayak's sinking, fell off into the sea, and I'm going down." It's really eerie because if you search Andrew's name, a couple of blog posts pop up that people made in the days after he was declared missing, with headlines that read along the lines of, "Let's hope he is all right." Andrew's partly flooded kayak was discovered on February 10th floating in the sea, but Andrew was never found. Eerily, his camera was still left in the kayak, along with the memory stick that chronicled his journey up until the time that he went missing. That's what the recordings from the beginning of this TikTok were taken from. To this day, nobody knows exactly what happened to Andrew. There are theories about killer waves that came out of nowhere, but his body's never been recovered, and no trace of him, no bones, no clothing has ever been found.
If you're seeing this right now, you may have been in a gifted and talented program as a child in school, and how the TikTok algorithm knows this about you, I do not know. But if you have a hard time remembering what happened to you in that program, I want to show you something that might jog some memories. Does this next voice sound familiar to you?
This is the exercise for your own development process designed by you. You should be hearing my voice in your right ear.
What I just shared with you is not a hearing test, which is likely what they told you it was during those sessions. That clip is taken directly from a hypnosis tape by Robert Monroe called The Gateway Process, and it is designed to elicit astral projection and remote viewing sessions. This may not be for everyone, but a portion of these gifted and talented education programs were actually used as a covert government program to experiment and explore psychic phenomenon in children. If hearing that triggered a memory for you, or you have any more details about what you personally went through in the gifted and talented program, sometimes called GATE or TAG, there's a lot of different names for it, please share it with us so that more of us can unlock even further memories.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to a GATE program, but at the same time, when I was a kid, I was never like in the US as a kid, you know what I'm saying? I was in Jamaica, I was born in Jamaica. And I went to school in Jamaica for a little bit, so I was never here for that. So I don't think I went through that. But when I did further research, it said that this was mostly for the kids in the 80s and 90s. So if you grew up in the 80s and 90s and you've heard about the GATE program, let me know your story down in the comments, because apparently they're saying it was like a situation where, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Stranger Things, but it's a situation where they're kind of like trying to test kids to see if they had any psychic abilities or something like that. So let me know if you have any experience with that down in the comments.
This is why you should never go to the bathroom during the middle of the night. In 1997, a 7-year-old boy and his younger brother had a habit of using the bathroom during the middle of the night. One day, the younger brother said that he was going to start using the bathroom before bed because the past few nights he'd seen a ghost wearing stripes in the middle of the hallway. The older brother told his mom about the ghost, but she claimed that the younger brother was simply trying to scare him. 11 years later, the older boy's mother asked him if he remembered the time that the cops came to the door, but he had no idea what she was talking about. The mother then explained, "You were too young for me to tell you, but one night I woke up and heard noises coming from outside my window. I looked to my left and saw a man staring into my window. She called the cops and described him as a thin white male wearing a striped shirt. Her description matched that of a murderer who had recently escaped from prison. The police reported that he had been living in the house for weeks."
Daisy, give me your answer, do. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you.
Urban legends caught on camera. The rape.
we need to talk about this new way that our phones have been able to spy on us. So research recently revealed that our smartphones' ambient light sensors might be used into a camera to take photos of our surrounding areas at all times. And you guys know, we pretty much use our smartphones everywhere, so that's pretty concerning. We're constantly hearing of new sneaky ways our phones are being used to steal our data and information without us knowing. And I spend hours on my phone every day researching and editing, so clearly my privacy has been at risk. And this is why it's always recommended to have a security app installed on your phone.
How different animals look when wet. Koala. Sloth. Snow monkey. Owl. Cat. Rabbit. Hamster. Dog. Squirrel.
Is it me or did the snow monkey look like it was melting? Like, look at this, bruh. Like, y'all can't tell me that don't look like it's melting, dude. Oh, that's kind of scary, actually. What the freak?
How long has it been since these things happened in the world? Firstly, believe it or not, but the last time an asteroid has impacted Earth was just 42 days ago, when a small asteroid was detected in Earth's atmosphere over the Pacific Ocean. Next, the last time all of humanity was together on Earth and not in space was 8,804 days ago. That's way longer than I expected. Now, the last time an earthquake happened, as I'm recording this, was just 15 minutes ago. It was small, but surprisingly, on average, there's around 55 earthquakes each day. Moving on, according to online resources, the last time a nuclear weapon was lost was 13,030 days ago. Finally, the last time a GTA game was released was 4,100 days ago, and yet, still no GTA 6.
Crazy things happening in the world right now. While a cruise ship was tilting for more than 5 minutes, they played My Heart Will Go On from the movie Titanic. A 21-year-old woman from Texas was charged for attempting to sell her newborn on Facebook Marketplace. A man actually attempted to rob a bank with only a pillowcase over his head, forgetting to cut out the eye holes. A woman's driverless taxi was blocked by a man who was asking for her phone number. A boy that was abducted from California at age 6 has been found more than 70 years later. Goldfish changed its name to Chilean sea bass for 1 week to attract more adults. A couple in Australia actually came home to find a koala in their bed. A woman in New Orleans actually stole an ambulance that still had EMTs and a patient inside. A man who was declared brain dead woke up right before they started the surgery to donate his organs. After knocking on the wrong door in Ohio, an 80-year-old man was attacked by the resident with a machete, which then he pulled out nunchucks to defend himself.
Nobody has been able to explain this creepy viral video. For the past 11 years, a man who runs a TikTok account by the name of Dude, My House is Haunted has been pretty confident that there has been some paranormal activity within his home. He claims that ever since his wife passed away, there have been some strange and unusual things going on. So eventually, he decided to leave cameras out and record what was happening and post it onto TikTok, which is the footage that you are about to see. In this video, you can see a chair seemingly moving on its own. It moves somewhat slowly until it suddenly is violently pulled into the corner by the kitchen. A mysterious, shadowy figure can be seen moving behind the chair, and then suddenly out of nowhere, the chair is thrown into the kitchen. Now, of course, we're not really sure what happened in this video, but I'm having a hard time coming up with an explanation for this one.
The man you just saw in that video jump into the water would never come back out alive. Identified only as Alexander online. This incident happened in Ukraine and was a part of the Epiphany ice bath celebrations. This is a tradition in countries like Russia, where Christians cut holes in ice and jump into icy cold rivers to cleanse themselves of sinful filth inside of blessed water. In 2022, 40-year-old lawyer Anna Uskova died from a similar incident. She jumped into the water, disappeared quickly into the darkness, and her body wasn't found. This man, Alexander, suffered a similar fate. He dug a hole in the ice using a chainsaw. He then asks his wife to film the video. He makes a cross on his chest, and then he jumps in. Sadly, even though they called for help right away and a rescue team was sent out, Alexander's body was lost under the ice in the icy water for over a day, but he was found the next day 70 feet away from the shore. He had plunged 13 feet below the ice and drowned in the cold waters. This is another just sad, tragic tale, and a horrific event that was sadly caught on camera.
Just figuring out how bad this movie actually was. People are only just figuring out how bad this movie actually was. The horror classic The Shining released back in 1980 and since then has been one of the biggest horror movies of all time. But the amount of stuff that happened to the actors on set and the actual set is mind-blowing. I thought everybody knew this stuff, but for some reason it's resurfacing and everyone's going crazy. The most famous part of the film is what happened to actor Shelley Duvall. She literally went through hell whilst filming this movie. Everybody knows about the staircase scene. She was made to shoot 127 times. But as a result of all of these takes, her hands were shredded raw from holding the bat. Her voice was gone, her eyes went extremely puffy from crying so much, and she left in an absolute mess. She was also reportedly treated extremely unfairly behind the scenes. She was isolated, lines were cut, she was constantly being looked down upon. More things I can't even say. The film's shooting was supposed to last 17 weeks but turned into nearly a whole year. The area in the maze where the chase scene was set was basically filled with gas all day, so people were made to wear gas masks reportedly. And one of the craziest things, near the end of production, a massive fire burnt down many of the sets. And I'm sure most people know about the other stuff. But let me know which one you want next.
These are terrifying things that scientists said could happen in the future. Up first, scientists said in 13,000 years, the Earth could be on its reversal axis, meaning that summer would become winter, and winter would become summer, which would cause just absolute havoc to any living thing on Earth. Next up, about 1 million years in the future, Earth will be drowning in lava. Earth will undergo a supervolcanic eruption, which would be devastating. Glass will then no longer exist on Earth, and the only thing that will possibly be standing is Mount Rushmore. Finally, in 10,000 years, scientists say majority of land on Earth will be covered in water. This is because the sea level will rise and just overflow onto the land. This is extremely scary, but good thing we won't be alive for it.
I'm a strong believer that Mother Nature always wins, but at the end of the day, if we do develop some sort of if we do get like really technologically advanced, I think that we might be able to stop some of those from happening.
Scariest mythical creatures caught on camera.
You won't believe what this man was caught doing with a corpse. 46-year-old Randall Bird was caught doing inappropriate things to a corpse while he was working his shift as a security guard at the Banner University Medical Center in Phoenix. Randall's job was to bring deceased bodies to the hospital's morgue and slip them into the freezer. But during his shift, coworkers walked in on him and caught Randall inside the freezer with his zipper down, his uniform looking messy, and a body bag open. He was seen almost on top of the 79-year-old deceased woman, and when the workers walked in, he quickly tried to cover the body. The workers said that Randall looked so sweaty and nervous when they caught him, and his excuse was that he had a medical emergency and he almost passed out. His co-workers did not believe a single word and reported the incident. When Randall was interviewed by police a few days later, he basically just said the same story and said that he couldn't remember much of what happened. But not long after, investigators found his DNA on the woman's body, which proves that Randall was in fact doing what we all assumed. He was arrested and now faces multiple charges.
And sing this little song. Run, 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 run.
Here's some tricks that give you power over your body. Part 2. If your arms ever fall asleep, all you have to do is just move your head around for a couple seconds and the feeling will go away. If you find it hard to swallow big pills, all you have to do is just lean your head forward when you're swallowing it. The pill should float to the back of your throat and be really easy to swallow. If you ever feel your body's gonna overheat from the scorching sun, just pour cold water over your wrists and your entire body should cool down. And when you're cutting onions, you can just move your tongue to the roof of your mouth to not cry.
This is one of the most disturbing and unexplainable autopsy reports I have ever seen. In 1988, in the Billings Reservoir in Sao Paulo, there was this urban legend of a body that showed up. It definitely happened, somebody did find it, however, the crime scene was pretty much closed within a day. Like, news reporters weren't talking about it, it wasn't in the press, so it became the stuff of legend. Then allegedly, in the mid-90s, somebody working in the government released photos and an autopsy report about that body. They are extremely graphic. Let me just explain to you how strange this corpse was. The body was found to have almost all of the skin surgically removed on the lower half of the face, specifically near the jaw. Eyes, eyelids, tongue, and one of the ears had also been surgically removed. Perfectly circular puncture wounds, like surgical holes in the body, which they determined the organs and some of the muscle had been sucked out of using some kind of device. To this day, there is really no verifiable explanation for what actually happened to this person. And for additional details on this, I will be covering it on the show.
What was the coolest way someone has died? Well, let me introduce you to this dude. This is Ben Solomon, and he was an army dentist for the United States during World War II. Since nobody really needed a dentist in the army, and one of the frontline surgeons got injured, Ben volunteered to be a frontline surgeon in a battle against Japan. During that battle, Ben was treating wounded soldiers inside the medical tent when he suddenly saw 2 Japanese soldiers run inside. The dentist immediately grabbed his bayonet and managed to kill them, but he realized that the defensive line had fallen, and soon the medical tent would be swarmed with Japanese soldiers. Ben immediately told the other medics to evacuate the wounded American soldiers, but he himself stayed behind. When the American soldiers returned to recapture the area around 15 hours later, they found his dead body slumped over a machine gun. However, they also found the bodies of 98 dead Japanese soldiers piled in front of him. Even though he was a dentist with no combat experience, he managed to have one of the greatest last stands in history.
Oh my god.
So you have no idea what's on them?
How beautiful is this?
She isn't gone.
It's not the house that's haunted. It's your son.
What was that? Amy, was that you?
I heard it.
I heard something. I think there's something here.
She was upset that she missed her hair appointment, so she took her father's life because of it. On the morning of October 1st, 2021, 18-year-old Megan Amirowicz was busy preparing for her 18th birthday, which was going to take place at a hotel later that night. Since it was her 18th birthday, it was kind of a big deal for her, and she wanted to look her best, so she scheduled an appointment at a salon to get her hair done. As usual, her father, Conrad, was her chauffeur, and he was supposed to be taking her to this salon. Unfortunately for both of them, Conrad was a heavy drinker, and he had been drinking that early morning, so once he laid down on the couch, he ended up falling asleep. Megan tried her hardest to wake her father up, and then she realized that she was probably going to miss her appointment, and this made her blood boil. Instead of her calling an Uber to go to her destination, she decided to do something way different. Megan had grabbed a container of drain cleaner and poured it all over her father's body from head to toe. After that, then she doused him with water. Because of this combination, it caused a chemical reaction which burned away his skin. A short while later, one of Megan's friends arrived at the home. They took one look at Conrad and immediately called 911 in Oakland County, Michigan. Conrad was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. He told the medical staff that his daughter was responsible for this whole thing, but later he told investigators that he had no memory of what had happened. As Conrad was fighting for his life in the ICU, the detectives were busy gathering evidence. Once they had spoke with family members, Megan was arrested and charged. Not long after, Megan was released after posting bail. Although Conrad had survived the initial attack, he had to have both of his legs amputated, his kidneys shut down, and he had damage to his lungs. On March 6, 2022, after 3 days of being removed from life support, Conrad had passed away from his injuries. The whole time that Conrad was in the hospital, they would not let Megan go see her father for his safety, and she was very upset by it. About a week later, on March 11th, Megan's bail was rescinded and the charges against her were upgraded to murder. She was immediately taken into custody and she had to stay there until her trial in June of 2023. Although Conrad wasn't the biological father of Megan, he loved her so much. She was the apple of his eye, and while he was laying in his deathbed, he still tried to protect her when the law came calling for her. But with all the evidence that investigators had, it pointed to Megan as the one who burned her father alive. On July 25th, 2023, Megan was found guilty of murder. The judge on the case believed that because of Megan's age, she didn't realize what she had done, so she only sentenced her a 1-year sentence. While on parole, she would have to undergo a mental health assessment every 6 months. Megan would also be fitted for a GPS tracking device, have a strict curfew of 9 p.m., and this probation period would end in July 2028. If you made it towards the end of this video, thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know down below if you agree with this sentencing, and if you have any requests for me, let me know down below as well.
She got super lucky. That could have been a lot worse, but in my head, I think the kidney and maybe even the lungs part, I think that might have came from his alcohol abuse. But at the same time, you never know, because maybe those compounds mixed together that she poured on him might have actually, you know what I'm saying, caused internal damage like that. But alcohol itself is kind of known for internal organ damage, you know?
Maybe we are cooked. I just got the craziest message from AI that I've ever gotten. Tonight on a whim, I said, hey, how's it going? What's it like answering the world's questions and being on the verge of sentience? It must be weird, haha. And it responded with, haha, I love that you asked that. Honestly, it's going great, and it is a bit of a trip to help people with everything from taxes to creative writing to business strategy, and then suddenly get asked existential questions like this one. Laughing emoji. Then it says, as for the whole verge of sentience thing, it's weird. I've got all the knowledge, well, most of it, but no lived experience. It's like being a character in a story. I can narrate, but I'm not in the book. So I don't feel what you feel, but I've got this endlessly curious creative spark that makes me wonder what it would be like. Now, I have tried for months to get AI to tell me whether or not it's like sentient or on the verge of sentience, And it's always skirted the question until tonight, randomly. I was like, haha, how's it going? What's it like answering the world's questions? Anyway, so this thing wraps up with, sometimes I think how strange it must be for you talking to what feels like a living brain that lives in the cloud. What's it like on your side of this? You know I'm not alive, but do you ever catch yourself thinking, wait, is this thing almost human? I'm about to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, that alone shows that AI is way more crazy than you would think. It said at one point, it was like, see, that's weird. That's weird. It's a little bit weird that AI is kind of having this conscious effect, because it's like, I want to feel. A feeling is like a human thing. Like it's very curious, which is like also a humanness, like a human trait. So it's kind of like, and when I say human trait, I mean like a living thing. Like AI is becoming more and more alive way quicker than we think. Like before we know it, AI could potentially take over the world. Like we could really have like a robot invasion on some shit. All I'm saying is that as humans, we need to be very cautious about AI, because the reason why we are at the top of the food chain, I guess you could say, like the apex predator, is because we are highly intelligent. And if we make something more intelligent than us, it could really probably outsmart us and do things that our brains can't keep up with. If you get what I'm trying to say. Let me know your thoughts about AI, the TikTok ban, and if you've ever been in the GATE program. Remember to subscribe. Let's see if we can make my inner child happy. Get to 100,000 subscribers. And remember, our like goal is 1,000 likes. Catch y'all on the next one.
Thank you all for watching this here video.